Is this you in every single match? If so, well, you're not alone. A lot of beginners struggle with excessive reloading, whether it's by instinct or it's by habit. But hey, if it's any consolation here, even experienced players like me fall victim to instinctive reloading. It happens to the best of us. Now, that's not to say it's a habit you shouldn't be correcting, though. So if you're guilty of this among many other beginner mistakes that you have to avoid, then it's about time you start changing them. If you're brand new to the game, this is something that could really skyrocket your progress. But if you really want to jumpstart your success, I want to introduce you to the 2 brand new courses we just published over on the SkillCapped site. These courses are designed to walk you through everything you need to know about climbing stupidly fast in Valorant. First, we have our Jumpstart course that we made to teach you the basics and expertly fast-track you through the beginner process. But once you're more experienced, we even went the extra mile and created this Level Up course to teach you the advanced tactics that players use to climb up into the higher ranks of Ascendant and beyond. Whether you're a brand new player or you're still trying to hit those peak ranks, these 2 courses will have everything you need to break past those plateaus and start climbing. There's a reason SkillCapped has become the only premium instructional resource in the scene. We invest and believe in our content. So much so that we even back it up with 2 guarantees. First, we give you 2 full weeks to explore all the things we offer, and if it's not for you, you get a full refund, no questions asked. Our second guarantee is that you'll climb at least 5 whole divisions, or again, you get every penny back, no questions asked. You've got everything to gain, literally nothing to lose, so get started by using that discount link in the description below. Anyway, back to the video. Throughout the many years of shooting games, preemptive reloading has always been a lurking presence. Whether it's a competitive or a casual game, the urge to reload even when you haven't emptied your mag is just so strong. But in Valorant and similar games, it's a common mistake you need to be wary of if you want to improve. Now, I get it. You got a few bullets missing, and it feels great to fill it up by reloading it. However, let me tell you the many reasons why it's not a good habit to develop. Number 1. Valorant is a tactical shooting game that relies on sound cues, and reloading easily gives away your position. Number 2, reloading gives you a brief window of vulnerability. If you're the type to reload after picking off an enemy, you might not be prepared to take the next fight if someone goes in for a trade. And since reloading has a sound cue, your enemies can take advantage of this by pushing you. Number 3, if you're low on time and trying to play retake or defuse, reloading takes up a few seconds of that. Now, it may not seem like much, but in each Valorant round, every single second counts. Instead of maximizing your bullet count, reloading will keep delaying your retake, eventually leaving you with no time left. So to slowly get rid of this habit, try to hop on the range and remove the infinite bullet settings. Then practice portioning your bullets on each dummy. Resort to reloading only when your bullets reach 0 or at the very least below 5. Now, once you get the hang of that, take it a step further by doing it in team deathmatch. Eventually, you're going to be able to apply it in unrated or competitive. And now, I'm not saying reloading is a grave sin in all situations, but there is a time and place for everything in Valorant. Now, if you have ample time and are certain you're in a safe spot to do it, go ahead and reload. Now, if you're using a gun like Odin, for example, and you've only used around 30 bullets out of 100, then it might not be so wise to reload immediately. Another common mistake beginners make is dry peeking every angle and duel they engage in. Sure, confidence is a useful trait in Valorant and in most games, but you should also know when to maximize those advantages. Each agent has a wider range of utilities at their disposal, allowing you to create a multitude of opportunities for peeking. And all of them go to waste if you die instantly because you think you can one-tap the enemy every single time. Now, if you don't have any utilities available, then play at an off angle or gather info first. If you're unsure of their exact location, do a jiggle peek or do a jump peek. Jiggle peeking is as simple as pressing left and right or vice versa without holding shift to quickly peek an angle. This is going to give you the info you need to place your crosshair accordingly and have an estimate to the enemy's distance from your positioning. Now, the same goes for jump peeking as well, though this tech is a tad bit more complex than jiggle peeking. Nonetheless, it's a mechanic that you definitely best learn as soon as you can, as it'll come in handy for noting the enemy's positioning and displacing their crosshair. To do a jump peek, practice by running towards the angle you're spotting and jumping. Instead of continuing forward, press D followed by S while in midair to hide behind cover. Here's Nats showing how simple yet effective this is for gathering info.
So how is that working? You're just pressing W, you're pressing jump. And at the same moment, when you already check, you have to press A and S, so you're trying to go back while you're jumping, so like this. At the same time, you're going left, and at the same time, you're trying to go back. In that game, it's possible to do that, and everybody's checking. So you can do the wide one to check everything, or you can do the close one just to check the close position, for example. It's pretty easy and pretty safe, but don't do that always. You can combine it like this, and after that strafe, so opponent gonna put the crosshair higher. After that you strafe, and he already have to flick. So pretty easy.
Jump peeking allows you to note the enemy's presence as they appear on the minimap. But like Nat said, you shouldn't do this every single time because it still leaves you vulnerable for a bit, especially if the enemy's close. What you need to make sure is that you don't expose yourself too much so they can't shoot you as you're jump peeking. With further practice, you're going to be able to do this quickly and from any angle. It'll come in handy when you need to quickly gather info, as well as misaligning the crosshairs of sniper players. As soon as they miss their shot from the jump spot, you can swing them and claim the spoils of the duel. Step 1. Run into sight with the team. Step 2. Plant safely while the rest of the team engages or dies one by one. Step 3. Get picked off for planting or escape sight to live and tell the tale. Step 4. Lose the sight to the enemy's retake and be forced to fight outside the sight. Do these steps seem familiar to you? Well, it should if you're a beginner who often makes or witnesses this mistake. You see, the thing about low elo players is that they think they can just plant whenever and wherever as soon as their team manages to enter the site. Take note, the key word is enter here, not clear, not take. As a result, the team gets ripped apart one by one, and the spike gets planted on a safe spot that's difficult to defend. Rushing to plant often leaves huge gaps in post-plant strategies. If there's no specific plan from the team to have the spike planted safely or in an awkward spot, it's always best to plant it open. Planting the spike open gives your team a lot of angles to work with to defend the spike. Additionally, when you try to take sight and your team is engaged in battle, it's also better to help out in gunfights before planting. You don't have to rush the plant if you have enough time to spare. Let's have Cloud9 explain the two types of plants to paint you a better picture here.
Planting in the same spot, it might be losing you rounds. There's two types of plants, planting open and planting safe. A safe plant is one that's behind cover, so if enemies come out while you're planting, you won't be exposed and picked off. But a safe plant is also a safe defuse. Enemies get to defuse with the same cover you use to plant. An open plant is one that isn't behind cover. You're exposed to lots of angles and might get spammed while planting, but after, you'll be able to see the spike from so many unexpected places, usually too much for the diffuser to worry about. For example, here's the safe plant on bind B site. You can only see it from long, not elbow, hookah, or even sight. So now when enemies are diffusing, they only really have to worry about long. But watch this. If you instead plant open in front of tube, this plant is exposed to hookah, long, elbow, even back sight can see the spike. Now you can get an easy kill on the diffuser. This simple change in where you plant can win so many rounds.
Remember, giving your team added manpower during duels helps you secure the site anyway. Instead of risking them dying while you plant safely, play numbers, get the trades, and plant the spike where your team can defend it effectively. You'll gain more advantages during post-plants if the spike is accessible to your team from multiple angles. Don't rush it, take your time if you must. So the number of times I've lost rounds due to over-rotating is uncountable during my early days in Valorant. While it still happens today, it's not as frequent and usually it only occurs due to a well-crafted fake play. Now my point here is that over-rotating is a common beginner mistake that you should watch out for and get better at as time goes on. Now I'm sure you've had your share of experiences of losing rounds because you jumped the gun and assumed the entire enemy team was on A simply because a teammate spotted one or two there. Soon enough, you realize you've made a grave mistake as you leave gaps in your defense, allowing the enemy team to take B freely and even flank deep into your territory. Now, comms is a major factor when it comes to mistakes like these. Often, you'll hear your teammates comm and panic that the enemy's rushing A because they hear one or two footsteps or a bunch of utilities being used. However, you can also try to assess that situation by checking the map and asking for which specific utilities are heard or used. The same applies if you're in that situation making that call. Try to observe which utilities were used, and if you have info gathering utilities, then you can also use them to confirm who's pushing in that area. Now, if many other agents are missing from the picture here, then it's safe to assume it's either a default or a fake play. In response, not everyone should leave their post unguarded until the team is certain or have a good read that it's a full send. These situations are what open up possibilities for enemies to lurk on your team or claim free space elsewhere on the map. And even if you rotate to a fully stacked enemy on A, it's best to have your sentinel place a trap or check behind from time to time, especially if there's an enemy whose location is unaccounted for. For the fifth and final mistake for today's video that beginners commonly make, we have force buying every single round. Valorant is a shooting game that relies heavily on your team and the enemy team's economy. It's easily what directly affects momentum and which team it favors. And you're probably thinking as I'm saying this, how come people still win rounds via thrifty? Well, it's either the enemy team made some slip-ups or your team managed to craft a well-thought-out strategy to play off a weaker buy. Regardless of the reason though, it doesn't mean you shouldn't pay attention to your team's economy. If your team is geared up for a full buy, then do the same. If the team needs to half buy or full save, then you should follow suit as well. Play with your teammates. Unless your team has a specific strategy in mind where one or two go for a hero buy while the rest save, it's best to balance out the economy of each and every player. Here's a brief economy guide from The Guard, who's a former Valorant pro team from NA.
Knowing when and what to buy in Valorant can be confusing, so let's break it down. On pistol round, buy as much as you can. Usually this is a Ghost or Frenzy plus some util, or classic armor util, or you can just buy a Sheriff. Any round other than pistols has 3 options. A full buy is when most or all your team can full buy heavy shields, a rifle, and utility. A save is when you ensure you have enough money to full buy next round. This might mean buying just a pistol or just util, or it could be buying nothing for a full save. A force is when the majority of your team doesn't have enough money to full buy, but you want to try and win the round at all costs. Usually this is light shields, maybe a cheaper rifle, or no utility. As you climb the ladder, there's some more advanced economy tactics that we didn't go over, but knowing these 3 basics will help you get there.
Now, it's understandable that it can be confusing at times here, but as long as your team is on the same page, it's already a huge difference maker. That communication that we talked about. If you're always forcing in each round and end up losing, you're only allowing the enemy team to snowball their economy and their momentum. Now, on the other hand, you're not giving your team a chance to recover economically, literally limiting your firepower and utilities. Now, as for the solo queuers out there, I can already hear your comments. What if my teammates don't care and they just buy or save randomly throughout the game? Well, sure, we can never really control how other players behave, especially if you're playing with randoms, but it doesn't change the fact that Valorant is a team game. If they're not on track with the economy, try to calm it out. Tell them to buy or tell them to save whenever it's needed. If they don't, then try to adjust to their buying habits. That's all we can really do to compensate for the lack of synergy between the team. Now, what remains constant, though, is that you should never lower your standards just because you have a team who doesn't care as much. It's frustrating. I get it. But you, as the better player, are going to find it more rewarding that you still played your best, even if the rest of your team didn't listen. All right, though, guys, before we wrap this up, let's tell you a little bit more about SkillCapped. So we offer a 5-division rank up guarantee, and we think that's a pretty crazy thing to offer. It's kind of like a gym membership guaranteeing you that you're going to get ripped. Your local gym would probably go bust if they offered you that. But not us, because we've offered this for years because our service really does work. It works so well, in fact, that we're able to produce by far the largest catalog of premium Valorant guides on the internet. We add new courses every month with over 1,000 guides curated into over 50 courses. No one can compare. We also have a direct line of communication with subscribers in our Discord so that you can get connected immediately to some of the best players in the game who will respond to every question you ask. Sign up today for as little as $6.99 a month if you're serious about improving your game. So that's going to be all for this one today, everyone. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll catch you in the next one.